So Terry Lyons, tell me about this wonderful poster you have. Take it from the top.
Take it from the top. This is the third book that I published, and I wanted to capture some of the momentous times of the 60s. Here is a picture of my mom and dad who were at the Latin Casino. It was in Merchantville, New Jersey, and they were waiting to see the likes of Nat King Cole on this particular night. And here I have the matchbook cover from the Latin Casino. And anyone who remembers that time remembers the special place that it was. Beautiful supper club and phenomenal entertainment. My parents performed at the Ivy Stone Inn. It was located in New Jersey. I can't remember the exact township, but here they were playing for the Amakitia Club, approximately 1969, 1970. And my folks also love to perform and have good times themselves at the Imperial Ballroom that was located in West Philadelphia. They had the cages with the go-go girls, and all the ladies would get dressed up in their finest attire and go out and turn the floor out. Mama would sing on the stage, and then she would go down and enjoy the rest of the crowd and have a good time at what were known as cabarets.
So Terry, I know you have authored several books, and you have two with you. Can you tell me about those?
Yes. The first one is Mood Swings. It was my first book of poetry, and it came from exactly what the title implies. So when I was having a good day, a bad day, or anything in between, I used my energy to write about what I was feeling and what I was going through as a way to heal. So it has many dimensions of what people go through. And then I put in a little bit of some of the old school sayings that my forefathers used to mention. Their words of wisdom were informative, but also humorous at the same time. You know, just one point, case in point would be, there's a heap that sees, but a damn few that know.
I like that.
Yes. And then one that's very popular is fattening frogs for snakes. That one is close to my heart because it implies when everyone profits from your labor except you. It was true then, and Lord knows it's true now. My first book, this is my love book, I like to call it, and it's entitled, Let Me Tell You What Mama Said. And that's exactly what it is. I enjoyed my mother's stories. I enjoyed her history. She came up in Gwinnett, Pennsylvania during the Depression, and she was raised by her grandmother, who was a slave. So Mama would sit me down many a night at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee in the afternoon, or sometimes a little cocktail late at night, and she told me all about what my great-grandparents went through to get from Virginia to the state of Pennsylvania. And that kind of personalized the institution of slavery for me. In addition, Mom discussed how it was in rural Pennsylvania during the Depression with the outhouses and the wells and the garden and trying to make ends meet. The art of improvisation that they had to have to survive. In addition to that, also the critical thought. See, they had to have the gift of decision to understand which way to go, what was right, what was wrong. They didn't just go along to get along, because that would have been to their demise. And that's certainly a wisdom, in my opinion, that we could use to. Let me tell you what Mama said goes into the Depression in rural Pennsylvania. Now, what I found really exciting about Mama's stories is that she told me about how people had to work hard to get through the day. They had to make their own soap, they had to make their own food, they had to improvise throughout the day in order to survive. Now, I would weigh that against some of the comforts and conveniences that we have in this day, and also in light of the economic situation. What could we learn from the people during the Depression that could help us through this difficult time? Mama's story captured me, particularly around the end of World War II, when she left Gwinnett, Pennsylvania, and came to Philadelphia. This was a time when North Philly in general, and Strawberry Mansion in particular, was all white. Mama had to rent rooms off of people. This is how people oftentimes made their livelihood. They would rent the back room or rent the side room or whatever have you. And this is how Mama started her life in Philly, doing domestic work sometimes and other times working in various factories. This was a big booming factory town. But in addition to that, there was a lot of jazz. Jazz was everywhere. Columbia Avenue, Ridge Avenue, you name it. All the little dance halls and cat houses up and down the avenue were just booming with jazz. She met my father along the way, who also had a love of music. And together, they began to stroll up and down the little clubs of Ridge Avenue, and before you know it, they began their own career in music. It's just such a fascinating story. And let me tell you what Mama says ends at the dawn of the Civil Rights Movement. Mama just bought her first television from Gimbel's department store. And the first image she saw on that television was when Rosa Parks was arrested. The second image that she saw was when Emmett Till was killed. They showed his body in Jet magazine, and the rumblings were beginning. North Philly was changing. A lot of the prosperous people in North Philly were slowly leaving, going to other parts of Philadelphia. So that's why I wanted to capture Mama's story, because when you capture your history, when you capture the history of your people and your world, it kind of gives you that galvanized footing that you need to carry on in this world. If you don't know your past, how can you stand strong in your convictions? How do you know what you're fighting for unless you know where you came from? In the beginning of the 70s, after we had arrived and overcome, there were many, many social organizations, many of which here in Philadelphia, for which my parents performed. Now, after the Chitlin Circuit and the cabarets slowly met their demise, Mom and Dad began to perform in places like the Marriott on City Avenue, the Brandywine Ballroom, and that was the mecca of black society. Mom and Dad played for organizations like the Old Philadelphia Club, the Almaquiddia Club, the Commissioners, the Continentals. They played for the Alphas, the Kappas. This is when people were fabulous. Women were elegant in their beautiful gowns, and men were handsome in their tuxedos. And they would waltz across the floor to the old standards of Count Basie and Duke Ellington. Mom and Dad had arrangements on these beautiful songs, and you would see people at their best. You had the black and white ball, the Harvest Moon ball, the diamond ball, the Kappas, the Alphas, Omega by the Sea. And Mom would just serenade the audience in her beautiful gown with the songs of Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, and even some Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett. Dad stood tall, in charge of this 12-piece band, strumming his guitar while everyone was at their beautiful best, waltzing across the floor. And I tell you, that is when black was truly beautiful. Mood Swings was my first book of poetry, and I used to write down everything and anything that crossed my mind. My elders are always with me in their wisdom and the instruction that they gave me throughout my childhood. One in particular captured my heart. My mama used to always tell me, baby, there's a heap that sees, but a damn few that know. And so I had to put that into a poem. You thought they were intelligent because they had a degree. Thought they were nice and sweet, well-groomed and elegant because that's all they let you see. Well, it never occurred to the trusting mind the dirt and foul odor facades leave behind. What you see and hear ain't always so, because there's a heap that sees, but a damn few that know. Now the one that will break your heart is always kind. You'll never know the carnage they left behind. Bigots and racists are capable of smiles, and their hatred is graciously veiled with impeccable style. And that couple you envy thought was the perfect pair. Nice house and car, pool in the back. But you didn't know they were paralyzed in despair. Mama said to watch that evil grin of deceit, whose mannerisms are clean and socially complete. You never know where thieves and liars are going to go, because there's a heap that sees, but a damn few that know. Yeah, that's the one that's closest to my heart.